Welcome back to the world of Terrametia. Today we're going to continue our series of building class combinations. One of the best parts about tabletop RPGs is not just building your character, but building a character to fit into a specific group with your friends and that unique band of adventurers. In our game, we love the archetype of tank, DPS, and healers. It's not required to play our game, but for first-timers it can definitely help settle in the system that can be a little bit more deadly in the early levels of play. First, I'd like to tell you a great way to support us would be on our Patreon, where we post all sorts of tools for players and game masters alike. The biggest one is our monthly perk that goes out to everybody is mini adventures. We write a sandbox-style mini adventure complete with a map, grid-based if that's something that you like, and we think you'll really enjoy it as people have been so far. This is a great way to support us for our 1.2 version that's coming out for Christmas, and it's going to have some new visuals. Some things will be categorized in a new fashion based on some feedback we've got from other game designers. And but the same core fun's going to be there. Nothing will change in terms of the mechanics. Last time we gave you a well-rounded party, kind of a Terrametia classic with a Solar Guardian, a Solar Witch, a Nightmare Hunter, and the Arcane Scholar. This class also excelled very well in a campaign against demons. This week, we're going to bring you the Darkness. This group is really unconventional, but they have a great theme, and it might honestly be one of my favorites. This party brings tankiness, evasiveness, some unconventional support, plenty of summons if you want them, and just overall cool factor. This party is comprised of the Shadow Templar, the Shadow Step, both casting shadows in tandem, the Nether Touched, and the Necromancer/Spirit Caller class, but we're going to lean into maybe the Necromancer flavor for this one, but that part's up to you. Right up front, we're going to start with our tank, the Shadow Templar. This is possibly the best tanking class in the game if that's your goal. The Great Shield is going to be our friend here as we taunt enemies to attack us. At level 1, we're going to put 1 point into Mind and 1 point into Spirit, but after that, we're going to focus everything into Life Force, just to give us the most Spirit, the highest Spirit pool available. And around level 6, we'll probably have about 2 mana, just enough to be effective with things we need to spend that for. This character wants to protect the party and be upfront dealing damage. We'll look at taking such abilities and spells such as Provoke to taunt our enemies into attacking us. We're going to take Black Hole to help reduce enemy spell damage. We'll make great use of our Great Shield, great use for the Great Shield for protection. We're also going to take Shadow Quakes to help knock enemies down and have our party deal extra damage to knock down targets. There is a wide variety of options for the Shadow Templar here. Around level 1, we're going to put points into Strength, Intellect, Finesse, and 1 point into Vitality. And then after that, for our main attributes, we're going to focus on Vitality till like maybe level 6 before dumping a few more points back into Strength for our weapon. Until then, we're going to rely on Strength of the Earth to help boost our to hit and to damage. But since this character uses Vitality to calculate its spirit power, it's going to be our main focus all the way through the life of this tank. And lastly, we can't forget we're going to take Cast Shadows. Since we can innately see in darkness and magical darkness, we're going to make great use of that, making sure that our enemies suffer the debilitating effects of magical darkness and we do not. This is also going to synergize with our Shadow Step, who has the same 2 abilities. Now let's dig into the Necromancer. The Necromancer can fill many different party roles. Martial, DPS, as a frontliner, support in the back or up front, or they can stand in the back as a mana-based character and just cast spells. Today, we're going to be a frontline support. So we're going to focus mostly on Life Force here. Around level 1, we're going to want a stray point into like Vitality and Wits, kind of player's choice. It's not going to be integral to the build. As we move forward, we're going to go for an even split through like level 6 and 7 between Sanity and Finesse. We're going to choose Finesse as our Life Force class attribute. Then once we get past level 7, We can decide if we need to put more points in other places, so it'll be a call after that as to what the party needs. High defense is going to be a goal here, as we're going to be the other frontliner in this group. Now the good news is you're a necromancer, you have a Shadow Templar to your left, to your right, you can animate dead, because that's Necromancer 101, right? We gotta bring along a skeleton. So we're gonna look to do that to help protect our flanks, maybe soak some extra hits, deal some extra damage. But let's talk about how the Necromancer can support in this particular party. For utility and crowd control, we're gonna use Necrotic Enchantment to stop enemies from healing if they have the capability to do so. Then we're gonna use spells like Insanity to cause fear, and then From the Grave to help paralyze enemies. As for healing, we don't have a single target heal, but we do have AoE heals that can also damage our enemies at the same time, making it very unique. The only class that has this. So that will be Spirit Wave early on, and then Ghostly Aura as well, which is a great AoE damage and healing ability. There are so many spell choices for this particular role in the party, it's hard not to take them all. You want things like Phantom Slash for melee damage, but you also might want to take, if your party is struggling with Spirit and Mana, you might want to get Spirit Surge and Mana Surge to help out with that. As long as you build around the core of taking those AoE heals and damage spells, and then branch out from there to fill in your party, you're going to be great. Lastly, I would mention considering taking Inspire/Wreck Confidence. This can help if your party is struggling to hit enemies, this will help them, and it can also provide a debuff to enemies as well. This debuff can help you land debilitating effects, which compare nicely with some of the other spells we previously mentioned, like From the Grave and Insanity. Alright, the Necromancer is cool. Definitely one of my favorite classes. But I want to bring in another one of my favorite classes, one that doesn't get talked about enough at some of our demos and cons that I need to spend a little more time showing people, the Nether Touched. This class, also like the Necromancer, has a lot of build options. Again, anyone that's been following us, that is a theme for our game. We like players to have some agency and choices, impactful choices upon level up. We have a very strong class identity. Nothing feels like the Necromancer, nothing feels like the Nether Touched, and so on. The Nether Touched has been marked by portal magic, and we're going to make great use of it here. For this build, we're going to look to be range DPS. So we're not going to use a lot of the spirit-based abilities. We're not going to look to summon our own weapon. We're going to look to use the ranged abilities and summons. Here, our bread and butter is going to be Void Bolt, and later on, Forked Chaos Bolt. This is going to be our mainstay for range damage dealers. I think early on, we're also going to make sure we have our Dark Fairy that also does void damage. Paired together with our Tether and Void Bolt, void damage is something that cannot be reduced in our game by any means, so this can be very useful as a damage type. Our other spells we're going to look to take would be Void Whiffs in melee range, as well as Power of the Void to help push enemies back. And then for CC, we're going to take Netherweb to help kind of root people in place. And we'll look to use two different summons, the Summon the Aspect of Terror and Summon Void Crawler. These can not only soak extra hits, provide great crowd control in a battle as well. This is going to be a mind-based character, focusing almost exclusively on willpower. It'll be tempting to put points the other way and take other options. It'll be hard to stay as just a range damage dealer. I think at level 1, what we're going to do is make sure we have some points into Finesse and Wits. We do want to have some positive to our speed roll. We do want to be a little bit quicker in combat. However, Sanity is going to be our main class attribute, and we're going to dump everything else into that. Anything outside of that, when you feel you have enough, grab things for flavor and grab things for speed. And again, once you get up to level 7, make sure you take that Forked Chaos Bolt and the ability Unhinged. This is greatly going to increase your damage. Then to round out our party, we're going to have the Shadow Step, our other character that's going to be casting shadows and moving through the darkness with ease, just as well as the Shadow Templar. To help us assassinate and flank enemies at will, let's talk about what spells and abilities we need to take for this character. Most of our damage is already just baked into our class, so to augment that, we're going to look at getting Poison Blades, Assassinate, and Precision Attack. And this is largely all we're going to need. So luckily, everything else we can take can be for adventuring and for flavor. Things like Hidden Script, Locate Magic, or even Grasping Shadows if we think we need even more CC on this team. So the other way the Shadow Step fits in this party is that, like the Nether Touch and the Necromancer, they too have access to a summon at higher levels. They can summon a Shadow Clone. This fits the theme of the entire party with summons, darkness, mobility, and all sorts of fun things that go bump in the night. I've spent so much time demoing the game for people using the Solar Guardians and the Solar Witches and Flame Wardens and Weapon Masters, things that are classic to our world, but I'll be using this party comp in my next demos here in September 2024. Again, this is one of my favorite party comps with some of my all-time favorite classes, and people need to see more of it. So if you like darkness, shadowy spells, creatures from the void, speaking to the dead, and being generally more terrifying than the enemy, this party is definitely for you. Be on the lookout for our new animated ad coming at the end of September here. Please join us on Patreon if you would like to get free adventures each month for you to use in your campaign. And follow us to hear about more party comps next time. See you next time in the world of Terramentia.